Hello, my name is Greg Barnhart, and I'm a partner in the West Palm Beach law firm of Searcy, Denny, Scarola, Barnhart, and Shipley. Today we're going to talk about boating and boating accidents and boating safety. Boats are a ton of fun, but boats can also be a source of terrible injury or death. Boats are different than cars. There is a different requirement for the captain. There are a lot of different skills that need to be mastered, and there are different kinds of factors that affect the captain. First, the captain, unlike the driver of a car, is responsible for the safety of his crew, people on board, and the passengers, other people on board. And he's responsible for the safety of the boat under all conditions. He's responsible to make sure that things happen safely and that weather and other boats don't interfere and don't hurt people. Among other things, there are about 8 different movements that you have to master to drive a car. There are about 40 different movements, coordinated movements, that a captain needs to handle a boat safely. And what makes a boat so different? First of all, boats don't have any brakes. Secondly, boats are usually bigger and more powerful and heavier than cars. And then boats have to deal with conditions that cars don't. As I said, boats don't have brakes, but the roads don't have current. There are no waves in the road. There are no things in the road like buoys. And there are lanes. In a boat, one can go either in a channel or out of a channel depending on where you are. But the potential for danger for people is significantly higher. So there are 3 areas where we've found in our boating cases that people get in trouble. The first is the captain hits another boat. And that is usually either a manifestation, something dealing with either the failure to mount a proper lookout, the failure to pay attention, or unfortunately drinking. The second way people get hurt is the captain hits something in the water. A buoy, a jetty, a log, a piling, something like that. And the third way is the captain doesn't hit anything at all. But through weather conditions, through the size of swells and the speed of the boat, people inside the boat are thrown, either thrown up or thrown out or thrown against something. And when that happens, the power of the sea is so strong and the power of the waves is so enormous that when people land, usually the injuries are serious. For example, I just finished a case last year where teenage boys took out a 34-foot boat with heavy power. They had skills. They knew how to dock a boat. They knew how to handle a boat. You could trust these boys with doing something with a boat, but they didn't have judgment. And so with 7 teenagers and 2 6-packs of beer, they went out an inlet. And when they went out the inlet, there was nothing wrong with the boat. The boat could handle it. But they went out at such a speed as they're going out, the waves at the end of the inlet threw the teenagers in the front of the boat, in the bow of the boat, up in the air. One landed on his back and rear end and suffered what's called a burst fracture of his back. 12 operations later, in court, the families who owned the boat had to pay a very significant 7-figure verdict because these boys, as captains, failed to follow the rules of seamanship. That is, they failed to have their boat under proper control for the conditions. And that's what's so important. What can be safe on one day, the same passage of water, or even earlier in the morning on one day, can be treacherous later in the day or on another day. And that's where judgment is required. Now finally, the last thing, and this happened in our boating case as well, is this: alcohol. Alcohol is bad for driving and anything else, but alcohol in a boat is doubly dangerous. And here's why. Alcohol, when taken with sun and surf and the dehydrating effects of operating a boat, is magnified. So 1 beer or 2 beers interferes with the ability of the captain to do the 40 things that he or she needs to keep the boat safe, as opposed to the 7 or 8 in driving a car. And so for those reasons, boats can be a ton of fun, but they can just be treacherous. So be careful.